So, as an audible artifact, what is it? What does PE distortion sound like?
Well, I would say the simplest thing to say is it sounds like a blur, because these additional pathways have a finite transmission time constant, and so they're out of time. So a little out of time, and depending on what part of the band we're talking about, can give different issues. But the one thing I would say that attracted me to it is we can talk a little bit about the whole subject of sibilance. We all have a high frequency kind of component to our sound, and so announcers have it, singers have it, so on and so forth. But when we hear somebody with it, somehow or other we're able to accept it and not have it interfere with our understanding or the intelligibility. But when we put it through a microphone, and then we listen to it on a pair of speakers, all of a sudden sibilants, or S's, can become big problems. And so people think about, well, it's a high-frequency component that's too high, some mechanical resonances in the, vocal cords, the various different things, which it probably is and can be all of those issues. However, this PE distortion, these rogue electrons, can add a undesirable emphasis to these high frequencies. We're only talking of one specific manifestation of this PE distortion, but that's one that I believe aggravates the pro business a lot. If you've been a recording engineer, you know that, oh yeah, that's the whole thing. You get the magic singer, you put them in there, you put up the microphone, you go into control, and all of a sudden, this isn't how the voice sounds when I go out there and stand in front of that person. And then it starts with let's try a different microphone, different cable, different preamp.
So these rogue electrons make the sounds blurry, and you focused on the sibilance.
Well, the sibilance was one area that I could hear, okay, as I looked at this PE distortion, was trying to do things to kind of limit it to this or that. Certainly sibilance was one area that I could identify. When I reduced what I considered to be this effect, the sibilance became less irritable. So and when you think about it, of course, because if it's really a time blurring phenomenon, well, what do people do when they try to fight sibilance in the recording process? Well, it's usually, first of all, is grab the high, frequency pot and start rolling off highs. But all that does is lose you high frequency information of the primary signal, which you don't want. So therefore, then you have the de-essing processors that will gate. That they become a time event where they try to cut off the large time component. But for me, making the electronic process be able to process the signal more accurately, so that you don't have to go through this Band-Aid approach, is an area that low PE distortion can contribute to better sound.
So PE distortion sounds like, if I'm correct, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like it's both in the air and inside of the electronics?
It is.
So it's a phasing issue of a certain kind of a rogue electron creating phasing issues and blurriness.
Well, you pick up these extra electrical flow pathways, okay, which essentially are little microsignals that interfere with the primary signal, of course. So that happens everywhere signal flows. So if you have a microphone, it starts as soon as you've converted from the mechanical movement to the electrical signal flow.
So they're like eddy currents.
Eddy currents are certainly a component of creating PE distortion. They are, which is one reason why you get so much discussion about what's good or bad about a construction, be it a microphone casing construction, be it an amplifier chassis, be it a speaker. So these eddy currents. Now, it's not that the engineers don't know about the eddy currents, but I don't feel that they're aware of the pathway generation, and therefore the fact that two chassis sitting next to each other, seemingly solid metal or whatever, can actually communicate signals between them.